Saturday. Welcome to the Paradigm Shift, episode 154. My co-pilot, Big Dave, and I are going to be joined by a very special guest, guys. Whip out the journal, grab a pen, make yourself a cup of coffee or tea. We got Dr. Steven coming on shortly. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to learn. Let me know how you guys are feeling in the chats. Get Big Dave on, and we'll bring on Dr. Steven. Let's get this party started. Marky in the house, Big Jeff. Great to see you guys. Great to see everybody, quite frankly. Love you guys very much. Dr. Steven, I see you on here. We're going to bring you on in less than five. As we eagerly anticipate Big Dave, who is not on here just yet. But that's going to change. Just a minute. For Dr. Steven, we're going to dive deep today. If you're looking for surface level content, this is probably not the experience for you. You guys are on fire today in the chats. Loving this. Yes, yes. Okay. Big Dave, where are you, handsome? What are you guys most excited about right now? Big Joe. Mark, love you, pal. Zombie in the house. Yes. Guys on fire. Uncle Dave running a minute late. And we'll get this party started shortly, guys. How are you guys with your spirituality right now? Is that something you subscribe to? Because we're going to go really deep today. And as I love to say, if you want to go higher, you got to go deeper. That's where the good stuff happens. Where is Dave? Alex, hit up his team, and Joe. Because I don't see him. In the meantime, I want to bring on Dr. Steven, and Dave will join us in just a moment. We'll get this party started. Let's do that. There he is.
Hey, Craig. How are you?
Doing great. Good morning. How are you?
Excellent, my friend. Excellent. Thank you.
I'm super pumped for today. Thank you for your patience. I don't know where Uncle Dave is. Very unlike him. I'm sure I'll hop on in just a minute.
I'm sure we can carry the weight until he gets here.
100%. For our audience that might not be familiar, this is really an exciting treat. You have so much going on. I encourage everybody to check out your stuff immediately. All the content, so much wisdom. What I think is most valuable today is we just dive in it and have an unbelievable conversation. You ready for me?
Yeah, man. I think I am.
One of the really cool things that you talk about is holistic health and personalized medicine. And I think it's so fascinating because, you know, you go to the doctor these days, for the most part, they might do some blood work and you don't really find out that much. But you like to have a plan, tell people what's really going on so they can set themselves up for years to come. What is holistic health for someone that's just hopping on that might not know what that means? And why is it so important for you?
All right. So that's a loaded question. I could probably, take up this whole time talking about it. But, you know, there's a lot of information out there. And now with social media, there's just a ton of stuff that we have to sift through. And I like to go with things that are tried and true, right? If you're concerned about your health and you don't want to wait for a crisis to have somebody kind of give you crisis care, and if you want to perform. I mean, I think your audience is an audience of people who want to perform, right? They want to perform professionally. They want to perform personally. They want to perform, you know, when they're having fun. They want to perform in every way. And I just don't think it's possible these days to be able to perform at a high level as you get older, unless you're paying attention to your health. And paying attention to your health is not like what they teach our kids in high school, which is, you know, don't drink, don't smoke, don't, you know, drive a car drunk or do drugs. I mean, that's basically their message for health. And, you know, if you do the things that we recommend, like on my page, on my YouTube channel, on my Instagram channel, I don't tell people what to do with their medical conditions. What I tell them what to do is, no matter what your condition, no matter how healthy or unhealthy you are, there are basic principles to follow. And like I said, there's a lot of noise out there, and I try to sift through the noise by just going with what's tried and true. What's tried and true is, you know, things we've been doing for 100 years: blood work, cardiometabolic analysis, strength testing, range of motion and skeletal health. These are, you know, body composition. These are all things that we're just very well aware can really make a difference in your longevity, can make a difference in how you feel, can make a difference in every way. Just let me give you an example for a second. Everybody knows how risky it is to have high blood pressure. But what's more predictive of a problem than high blood pressure for your heart is poor grip strength. So something as simple as your grip strength can be a better predictor of a cardiovascular event in your life than your systolic blood pressure. And this has been proven in the research over 40 years. And then you might say, well, how could, you know, grip strength dictate your heart health? Well, your grip strength is something you can't fake. I could take a blood pressure medication and drop my blood pressure real quick, okay? That doesn't make me healthy. Your grip strength, you can't fake it. You're not gonna fix it in 5 days. If you know I'm gonna test you in 5 days, you're like, I better work out so I have good grip strength. No, it's reflective of who you've been and who you've been for the last year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. And you really can't fake it. Now, there's other reasons why grip strength is important, but that's just one thing that we can measure that's tried and true and cheap and something that you can track over time, right? That's just one example. And then a big part of what I like to talk about is your diet and your lifestyle and how that can be reflected in your blood chemistry. You mentioned that people just go get their blood work done as if that's a small thing. I can do a $3 complete blood count, a CBC, and look at your red blood cell characteristics and determine how well you deliver oxygen to your brain and what could be interfering with your ability to deliver oxygen to your brain. And then you say, well, why is that so important? You know, all my cells need oxygen, so why are you picking on my brain? Well, your brain is 2% of your body weight, but it uses up to 30% of your oxygen. So anything that interferes with oxygen delivery is going to manifest as a brain problem. And that, we can talk for hours about what that means with all the medications that people are on and all of that. And a red blood cell has one job: deliver oxygen. That's it. That's what it does. So any inefficiency can be reflected, especially in a guy like you, Craig. I think I know who you are. You're trying to perform at a high level in everything you do. So, you know, there are people walking around saying, oh, well, I've had anemia my whole life. Really? You've had anemia your whole life? That means poor red blood cells? So you're not functioning at a high level if you've had anemia your whole life. And there are some very basic nutrients that give you healthy red blood cells that you can easily check for and fix without doing advanced. Everyone thinks, oh, I got to see the best doctor to have the biggest and the best test and do a full body scan and, you know, full body CT, MRI, and all of these things. No, 5 things: comprehensive blood chemistry done with someone who knows how to interpret it. VO2 max and resting metabolic rate. Nothing is more predictive for longevity than VO2 max. Range of motion and the quality of the flexibility of your body. Muscle strength. And then finally, your body composition, lean muscle mass compared to subcutaneous fat compared to visceral fat. Those 5 measurements, if you have them, will be so predictive of everything, not just disease, but health, right? So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the message on that I provide on social media. Hey, Dave.
Hi, how are you? You turned the comments off. I couldn't tell you I was here, Craig. I was like trying to get there.
There was some negativity in there. We decided to just go without it.
It's better off. Thank you for your patience. I am here, and my team is here. Anyway, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And Dr. Stephen, I love what you said there. And specifically, I think most doctors now, they often like to give a Band-Aid, right? Like they'll treat the symptom, but not necessarily the root cause to prevent it from happening moving forward. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely true. And again, when you say root cause, that implies you waited for something to go wrong, right? And no matter what has gone wrong, I mean, we could be talking about, terminal cancer. We could be talking about a hangnail. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you do the things that you know you need to do to give your body an opportunity to be healthier than it is today. And those things you're responsible for. This idea that I'm going to just live my life and then see an expert when things go wrong, and putting all of that weight on the shoulders of the expert is asking way too much. You have to take responsibility for yourself. And even people with stage 4 cancer, again, with stage 4 cancer, you have to do your part. You're not going to become an oncologist. Your oncologist will do that for you. But because the oncologist is doing the oncology thing, doesn't mean you're excused from doing the basic things that you are responsible in order to give your body what it needs to at least gain some purchase, to help the oncologist out, to help the cardiologist out. So that's really the message that, if I could back up a second, this cancer thing is a mentor of mine, just one of the greatest minds I've ever spoken to, Rick. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He's a young man. He's got young children. He's in his late 50s, early 60s. And he's such a remarkable person. But he had to have that diagnosis in order to say, I'm going to take responsibility for myself. I'm not going to just throw my hands up in the air and throw myself into the arms of the standard of care. And there's research done on people who do that. You look at spontaneous remissions from terminal illness, the people most likely to have that experience are the ones who take responsibility for themselves, who say, that's it, I'm going to learn, I'm going to become an expert, I'm going to understand. And you can't do that I can't do that for you. I can't tell you to do that. It has to happen inside of you. And my response to that when I heard about Rick was, my God, do we have to wait till we have terminal cancer before we make that decision? We can't make that decision now when things are going well. Do all of the things, right? So, that is something that there's just too many of us, and I'm in my mid-50s, finally starting to enjoy a little success in my life after a lot of years of hard work. And I've kept myself healthy the whole time, and maybe my success in business could have been, I don't know, more accelerated if I sat behind a computer for more hours, right? But then I'd be playing catch up with my health now that I'm becoming an empty nester, right? My kids are getting older, they're going to college. I don't want to be that guy that hasn't seen his toes in 20 years. He's an empty nester. He's in his late 50s, tremendously successful in business and life, and now has to struggle with his family history of heart disease and is worried about going on vacation and enjoying the fruits of his labor because I can't be away from my cardiologist. I can't be away from my pills. I have to, be careful. That's crazy.
Yeah, insane. Yeah, and I sitting back at 56 years old and thinking that the path I was on that ended 17 years ago for me would have led me to being a different 56-year-old than I am today, as I sit at Father's Weekend and see a lot of fathers who are dealing with exactly what you're talking about. And, you know, they're lining up to ask me for advice on how do you have harmony between this, and this. And it's been a 17-year-old journey. But I think when you talk about responsibility, I think there's three things. And the key is you talked about searching, seeking the light, the love, and the lessons in that accountability. And it goes beyond responsibility. I think everyone every day should ask, what did I do to be responsible for what's going on today in my life? These outcomes that I don't understand or know that are protecting and promoting me. But it is the search in the lesson of when we take responsibility for our day. But there's two other things that I would suggest people look at. And one is more spiritual in nature. It's what did I do to attract this to myself? And it's a hard one to ask if you have stage 4 pancreatic cancer, if you have a suicide in your family, because people don't understand the laws of attraction. But it's okay to say, what did I do to attract this situation, circumstance? But it is only beneficial if we ask, what am I supposed to learn from it? The same as, what did I do to be responsible for this? I live next to a nuclear power plant. I may be a little bit responsible for the cancer I have. I didn't eat the right foods. I may be a little bit responsible, and that may have attracted some of the interference between a healthy cell. I believe all my cells are cells, by the way, cells. And then the last one is really critical when you're talking about cancer patients, because I do see in the spontaneous remissions in the people that I talk to, they're ones who ask a third question beyond responsibility and attraction. They ask themselves every day, what am I doing to participate in this perception? We all need help. I'm big fan of, you break your arm, don't sit at home and try to manifest the healing of that arm. Go get it, but you can heal faster with all the other things on top of someone resetting your bones in the correct position. You can heal faster. But if you ask yourself, what am I doing to participate in this perception, and what am I supposed to learn from it? Now we're taking advantage of the three characteristics of physics and energy in the universe, which is, one, I'm going to aggregate everything that I want. I'm going to accelerate the process like that broken arm, and I'm going to receive exponentiality of the outcomes that I'm desiring, or better, because I don't understand or know outcomes as they occur. That's a certainty within the context of an infinite loop that we live in, or a unified, abundant, infinite system that we live in. So I want to encourage people, to understand this idea of, what am I supposed to learn? And if you have other things beyond responsibility, attraction, or participation in a perception, add that to it. As long as you're seeking the light, the love, and the lessons, you're going to receive the protection, promotion, the love in any situation. And one final thing, I know I came in late, now I'm manipulating the conversation, but I love this subject matter. It's okay to look at these things as these lessons, and let yourself understand that you yourself, the outcomes will come, but they're not going to come. We don't understand good or bad outcomes because we don't even understand the definition of good progress and bad progress. Is good progress is aligned with your divine direction, created by good behaviors aligned with your divine direction. Bad progress or bad behavior is aligned with where you don't want to be. Worry, anxiety, resentful, angry, frustrated, guilty, separate, inferior, superior, whatever it may be. These bad behaviors are not aligned with the divine direction in which we all are given an opportunity to participate in through what you're speaking about, teaching about. And there's no doubt in my mind why you're an overnight success at your mid-50s. Because you've done, said, thought, believed, and feel what it took to get there, and you weren't looking for an overnight success in 6 months. It took a good amount of time to be an overnight success, and congratulations in getting there.
Thank you, David. I really appreciate what you're saying there. And it's funny, the word responsibility, a lot of people will hear that, especially when it comes to illness, and say blame.
Yeah.
And I believe in redemption, right? I believe blame has no role to play here, because the word redemption means you're forgiven. Like, move forward, you're forgiven. Looking backwards is ridiculous. When I was a kid, I smoked, right? You think I would just blame myself, for any illness I got on that behavior? No, I was a kid. I had a great time, and my father smoked, and no one was cooler than my father. And if it's good for my father, then I want to be just like him. And those were the early 1980s. So redemption is a spiritual principle that I think people need to explore in order to avoid the negativity that the word responsibility can imply.
Yeah, and also Dave, first of all, I love both of you. Dave, the first point that you made before in Kabbalah, was saying, why is this happening in my movie? What is my soul trying to teach me, and what can I do about it? And maybe yours sounds a little better, but that was awesome.
Yeah, add one thing, which helps in the foreground of that. In my studies in Kabbalah, I always like to ask myself, when I feel the interference in that technology or unification, for the sake of what? It allows you to deal with the revelation and redemption, utilizing forgiveness of the past to give the meaning, because we have the power to give meaning to everything we see. And if we give the meaning through that question, because it is inherent in its nature, for the sake of what, we're automatically aligning the meaning to where we want to be or better, not to the blame, the shame, and the justification that so many of us utilize. And I have a whole list of those forgivenesses in my life, and I think when I illuminate those and am vulnerable enough to tell people, hey, I messed this up, and but I don't blame anyone, but I just am encouraged to learn more, to understand how for the sake of what am I learning it, to get to that divine direction.
Yeah. I love those two words, to get to divine direction. Also, this just in, somehow I was able to bring together two of the most passionate people on the earth about the next specific topic, and that is sleeping. I know Dave is obsessed with it. Dr. Steven, you're an expert in this, and I was looking at your content, which I highly suggest everybody do. And one of the really cool things that you were talking about, especially for high performers, is that a lot of people might not know that cortisol is a sleep hormone. Is that right?
Yeah. Cortisol is a hormone that basically is very active in the process of sleep, in the process of giving you blood sugar when you need it, and of course, it is a stress hormone, right? So just from a stress standpoint, that's the word that everybody thinks of. But here's the problem with that. If I'm out in the jungle, like, our stress system is based on our ancestry, right? So you're out in the jungle, you're walking around, and you get attacked. You turn a corner, you get attacked by a wild animal, and you survive. And now it's 20 years later, you're turning that same corner. Your memory says, wait a minute, I was here once before. And so it heightens you, right? In case that animal were to pop out again, you release cortisol to manufacture sugar so you can do what you need to do no matter when your last meal was. It's not like, oh man, I didn't have my oatmeal this morning, I'm not going to have any energy to fight this animal. You're going to manufacture exactly what you need in order to deal with the stressful situation. Now, what comes with that elevation of the stress hormone is anxiety, which is part of saving your life, because you need anxiety in order to survive that kind of, you have to be heightened. Now, let's go to opening your email, getting a bill, reading a nasty comment on your social media, and you get a surge of this stress hormone that's built to protect you from a dangerous animal. Now, if your cortisol is elevated, not because of the stressful event, but because you have poor blood sugar regulation, and you have what's called insulin resistance, one in 3 Americans have it. This causes you to release too much insulin with your meal. Your blood sugar drops. You have to use cortisol to make up for it. And now you have a heightened amount of cortisol in your blood. that brings you closer to anxiety, that brings you closer to the stressful physiology, but there's no stress, but you blame it on the email. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute, your blood sugar is not dialed in, and it's giving you a disadvantage. Okay, now sleep. Just getting 2 nights in a row of substandard sleep, sub 6 hours, sub 5 hours sleep, 2 nights in a row will elevate your cortisol for the entire day and make you more insulin resistant. You won't be able to lose weight even though your eating is perfect. Your blood chemistry is not going to look the way you want it to look. You're not going to get into ketosis if you're intermittent fasting or on a keto friendly diet. And all those things are impacted by poor sleep. So the things you experience during the day, anxiety, stress, poor blood sugar management, all that stuff that you experience during the day is influenced by your quality of sleep. So people who are not interested in improving their sleep are not interested in improving their performance psychologically, physically, and mentally.
How good is he?
Amazing. We got to get back together for sure. I've had a sleep coach for 17 years and at a higher level to help people. The reason I have a sleep coach beyond the travel is because I wanted to get better at 2 things. In fact, I want to be in the Hall of Fame of sleep when it's all over. I want to be known as David Meltzer slept the best of anyone I ever met because I know I'll have every advantage in my favor, physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional advantage in my lifetime if I'm the best sleeper. Because 1, recovery is obvious. Those who recover better will have a better day.
Mm-hmm.
But what's not obvious is that access. Whether it's biochemical, bioanatomical, mental, physical, spiritual, whatever it may be, when we are sleeping our best, we access information. And combined with meditation, we can transcend that information, the highest frequency information, and enlightened per se, whether it was in the history of the Tao, the way. That's how you find the way. It's like the amazing, ways of the universe is downloaded if you're sleeping appropriately without the cortisol, the anxiety, and the fear, and all the things. But what's interesting is, remember, the subconscious mind has an amazing impact on us because it's repetitive in its nature. That's what neural pathways utilize. So it's, unfortunately, we inherited genetically and energetically, at least 80% of our neural pathways are negatively charged when we're born even, or they're instantly attracted back into those realms. So think about what you're doing when you're sleeping well. You're transforming in a positive way. You're accessing information besides and beyond the recovery. Every aspect of sleep gives you happier, healthier days, period. Happier, healthier days. And it's an amazing thing. And I always joke around because I would make fun of athletes who didn't understand business coaching. I was like, dude, you have had a coach since you were 5 and you're 35 years old and you had an amazing athletic career, but you never said, I don't need a coach. You know what? Why don't we get rid of Bill Belichick? He's a waste of my time. They never said that. But the minute it's like, okay, we're going to start into the business world. Oh, you don't need Bill Belichick of business anymore? Mm-hmm. I'm beyond belief that if you're not using a sleep coach, it's a third of your life. It's a third of your life. And so if you're not going to, for 26 years on average, have a Bill Belichick in your corner, but the only difference is it impacts your life more the other 16 hours a day. It also, beyond that's 8 hours, the 16 hours are impacted more by sleep than probably anything else that you can do, more than eating, more than exercising. All of those things can actually be helped by. So I'm a huge, as you know, you got me off on my favorite topic. It's a love language. I went over time, but I shorted you guys in the beginning. We got to do more together. Thank you so much for allowing me to share.
Yeah, no, this is really fascinating. Dr. Steve, you're about to say something?
No, I just want to echo those words. I mean, if we end this call on sleep, we've really accomplished a lot because, there's no, and I'm not the expert on this, Dr. Matthew, and I can't remember his last name, but there's no shortage of information about how we download, how you know, you go from your desktop into the hard drive of your brain with sleep, and the cycles of sleep dictate that. But there's also this idea, and this is great. We spent decades saying, well, smoking is related to cancer, but it doesn't cause cancer. And then finally, in the mid 1990s, they were able to scientifically say smoking causes cancer. Well, now we spent a lot of time saying sleep quality is correlated or associated with Alzheimer's disease. Now we can say poor sleep causes Alzheimer's disease or dementia. And that statement alone, if you knew the rigor of how science is produced, the fact that we can now say that officially should be a wake-up call for everyone who's got sleep apnea, who's overweight, who's getting less than 7 hours of sleep at night. Sleep, if it were something that if it was something you didn't need, right? If it was a waste of time, virtually every mammal on the planet cannot not sleep. If you don't sleep, you die, right? And mind you, if a third of your life you're spent unconscious, you're pretty vulnerable to predators out in the jungle. Yet, even with that pressure, if there was an animal that could have survived without sleep, well, that gene would have been expressed because they would have had a better chance of surviving and surviving predators. That's never happened. Sleep is an active process. It's not just being unconscious. People who take sleeping pills are rendering themselves unconscious because they can't sleep, but they're not sleeping. It's an active process, not a passive process.
Great way to drop the mic. Two quick things before we wrap up. Dave, you are the Bill Belichick of business coaching, except you're more handsome. And Dr. Steven, for our listeners and our audience, what's the best way for everybody to support you right now? What are you most excited about, Dr. Steven?
What I'm most excited about is really just creating an environment on social media, in particular YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, to have this message. I mean, if you look at my content, I just say the things I say every day that I've said every day for the last 27 years of my career. And I'm always going to be sharing what I'm doing, and I'm not a know-it-all. I won't tell you what to do on Instagram. I'm not Dr. Instagram. But I will tell you what I do, right? And if you think I'm a learned person and you can learn from me, then great. By all means, and we're going to be offering communities and things for people to join, because ultimately social media is a gift. We can impact hundreds of thousands of people on a daily basis. I used to have in the 90s and in the 2000s a pro bono side of my practice, right? I would take 5% and just say, this is for people who just can't afford care. And, you help people one at a time, and you pat yourself on the back, feel good about it. Now, with social media, I'm getting DMs every single day from all over the world about people who've made dramatic changes in their life. I had somebody who lost 80 pounds and saved his own life just by watching my videos and emulating the things that we were saying. So follow at Dr. Stephen G on all of the platforms.
Thank you for doing the work that you do. Thank you for showing up today. Before we hop off, Dave, I know you got some exciting things coming up too. How can people get involved?
Yeah, if I can add for Dr. Stephen's community, I'd like to offer, I will sign my book, send it to you, pay for shipping and my book. If you reach out to me, you can email me directly. Connected to Goodness. It gives just a mass level understanding of how we can connect to goodness, to clear the interference between us and that omniscient power that we're given. So david@dmeltzer.com is my email, david@dmeltzer.com. I'll pay for shipping and the book. Don't worry, it's not the old free shipping scam. So I'd rather everyone, I'm here to empower people the same as these two incredible gentlemen. Please email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Thanks for the opportunity. And thanks for your patience, by the way. This is the second time I was late. That's 2 out of 154.
What gift, Dave?
It's a student of the calendar. I'm a hypocrite. I teach everyone to be a student of their calendar, and I ran over on a coaching call, and I'm here in Madison, Wisconsin. So I will tell you this. My daughter somehow thinks that I don't love her unless I drink Jägermeister with her now that she's in college. I don't drink anymore. And I am sure that interference, I'm going to have to tell her tonight, I love you, but I'm not going to even have one shot of alcohol because I can't miss my dear friends.
There you go.
The vulnerability. Great stuff, both of you. Dr. Steve, we got to do some more stuff. More time than just this because you're just a wealth of knowledge. Thank you both. Love you guys. Have an amazing weekend, and we'll connect offline.
Be in Vegas, boys.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, guys.
Wow.
Dave, I'll see you next week in Vegas.
Got it. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a good weekend. Phenomenal dialogue. Deep below the surface, guys. If you want to go higher, you got to go deeper. Check out all the unbelievable stuff that Steven has going on right now. All the content, literally life-changing. So there's that. Big Dave, my partner in crime, thank you as always. I'll see you next week in Vegas. Can't wait. And what an unbelievable conversation, guys. And that was some pretty fascinating stuff. If we're going to spend a third of our life sleeping, why would we not try to be the best that we absolutely can at it, right? Unbelievable stuff. And what Dr. Steven was saying at the end in regards to sleeping pills, my goodness. Stuff I'm going to look into myself, for being honest. How to be more efficient and effective. I do get this Aura ring, which has helped me a bit, but I imagine I could even go deeper. So I'm going to look into that. Guys, check out all the awesome stuff both of them have going on. We love you guys. And let's have an unbelievable weekend, yes? And if you'd like some clarity or strategies, or your free How to Build $1 Million Network guide, just text me, 917-634-3796. The number at the bottom of the screen, and I'll send it over to you for free. Let's have an unbelievable weekend, guys. Love you very much. Think big, block out the interference. Let's go deeper.